Okay, so so we'll look at the JSP constructs. There are three types. Okay, we have the expressions, scriblets, and the declarations. Okay, so the easiest one is the expressions here. Well, I shouldn't say easiest one, but we'll just look at in this order here. So expression is you use that to insert expression directly into the web page. Okay, and the syntax is you will have the angle bracket, percent, and then the equal sign, followed by the expression inside here. You close that with the percent and a close angle bracket. So, for example, this is like exactly just like you do in PHP. Okay, you have very similar PHP. PHP is instead of the dollar sign, I mean the percent, you will use this. I think it's exactly the same, right? Yeah, same syntax in PHP.
Is it? Or,
I think so. Yeah, it's the same expression. And this is only used if you want to output something to the browser. Okay, so for example, if you have like the username, if the username is a variable, so you have a variable name called username, and then you can output that directly to the web page. So here is a HTML tag, embed a JavaScript expression inside the HTML tag, and so on. So this part will be parsed by the JSP and translator and interpreter, and it will just basically display the word or the name David here, and so on. So this one is for expression. This is something similar. Okay, this is, if you notice the difference here, this one has an equal sign, this one does not. Okay, so without the equal sign, this is what's called a scriptlet, and you can combine all of these together on the same page. So scriptlets looks just like similar to the other one, except it doesn't have the equal sign. Scriptlet allows you to create local variables, okay, and then use those local variables inside the script. Okay, notice the word local variable here is really important because it's local inside the method. So if you look here again, back to the file here, I'm going to pull one of the old files we did last week on the servlet. So which one was it? 35. Okay, if you look at the servlet, my first servlet, if you remember, in here we have the do get method, right, and do post method. Let me close this. You see that it has a request and a response object. Okay, and the inside here we have so you can access the request reading data from the URL, or from the in this case from the URL that is appended to URL. The post will be the same object. You still do request get parameter, but you'll be reading the data or the variable names coming from the form, the body of the form. And you have the response to write to the browser. Okay, you're reading from the browser or from the form. You're writing back to the browser using the response write. So we have the print writer out and the response write, right? Okay, so you can create local variables inside here. Okay, to output data. Okay, so with that, if you go back here, you see that I have a scriptlets here. I begin my code. Inside here, in here, I can only put Java code. Okay, you cannot put HTML code in here, just like PHP. I can create a local variable called age, assign a value of 12, and I can print back to the browser using just like a regular Java code. Right, it's out.print. This one here is exactly the same as the one we just saw inside here, right? I have an out object here called response.write, and I can inside here I can say things like out.print if I put like, for example, age, and then if I put plus age, and assuming if I can create a local variable here called int age is 12, right? I could print that out. This is exactly the same here, okay? Inside this do post or do get method, and so as you can see, it's exactly the same, except you embed it inside this scriptlet tag. Okay, so what that means is, inside my JSP file, in here, I can now create a local variable where this is a scriptlet tag. I can say things like int, name. Well, it should be int with string, right? Name is Joe. Okay, and it follows the same Java rule in terms of syntax. I can just say out print name. Okay, notice I don't have to do like print writer out is equal to whatever it is. Okay, the out is one of the parameters that is given to you, so you can just use it. Okay, same thing with the request. Request is also given to you. So I can say get parameter, and if I have a URL variable or a token called ID, I could just get the value from that. Either the post or the get, it doesn't really matter. Okay, so these are special objects that are given to you automatically, so you don't have to like redefine like this or like this here. Okay, it's given to you, and there's several more, but this are some of them. So for example, this one here, I can print this to the browser. If I save this to now, and if I run it, you'll see that it should. Let me save this. Print Joel to the web page. So here it is. Okay, and if you do the source view, you'll see that it only has the word Joe here, because I did not put any tags around Joe. Right, so you don't see the result of that of the code. You don't see the actual code. You don't see it. You only see the result out of that. So in this example, I have a variable name called name. I print that out here. I could also do down here, put a BR here. I would say your name is, and then I can put the script expression. Okay, using the equal sign. Here, I just want to output the name here. So you see that, and then put a period here. You see that I would say your name is Joe here, because this variable name is already declared up here. So you are in the same space here. Okay, so I can access it directly inside this web page, and then it should. If I go back, I could just refresh my page, and you see that it works. I don't have to recompile the page because I'm not making any changes to the class file, right? I'm just modifying my JSP file, so it will render really quick, and it shows me the output right away. So you see that, and the source code is your name is Joe, and then of course the same with the other tag. So you have two options here. One is you could use the out print name here. I could do that as well. I could say your name is, but I cannot put it in here like this, right? Well, let's see if that shows up. See, as you can see, you cannot put those kind of functions like that in there. So instead of out.print, I would just put the name, variable name. If you want to use the function out.print here, then you need to remove the equal sign and use a regular scriptlet. Okay, so the scriptlet allows you to call these functions and also create variable names like you see here. But of course, you can always embed inside your the HTML file tags. So let's see if I refresh this. You see that it does still work, just the same as before, right? Your name is Joe, and the source code, again, you'll see that it's seamless. It removes all the other tags and only displays the result. Okay, so you can do it this way using the scriptlet, or you can use the shortcut, which is the expression. Okay, expression only put the results. Here I'm calling a object and a function, and so it is not allowed inside the expression. Expression, I can do things like, for example, you know, put a VR here for the next line. I can say 5 plus 5 is, and then I can put expression is 5 plus 5, right? It's a operation. 5 plus 5 should be 10, right? So you can see that 5 plus 5 is 10. Okay, it does the operation for you. That's why it's an expression. Okay, just like a function, it does something. But if you want to change this to the scriptlet, then you have to do a little more work. You have to say, I cannot just do that. I have to say now out.print and then 5 plus 5. Okay, and then put a semicolon because it's required. It's a regular Java statement. And maybe if I put like 5 plus 6 here, so it should say 11. As you can see, you can also get that result. Okay, so just so you know that you can use, you cannot use the expression to create a variable name. So in other words, I cannot do something like this. I cannot say, you know, int, you know, a is equal to 5. Okay, you can't do that inside expression. It has to render a result or some type of data to the web page. If you want to use variable names, you have to change that to a scriptlet, okay, in order to use it. So scriptlet allows you to create variable names and output using the out or the print, outprint or request and so on. You cannot create functions in here either. So I cannot say, like for example, you know, int get name or get age or something, but I cannot do that in here inside a scriptlet. Okay, if you want to do that, then you have to use what's called a declaration, and that's the next part. So the next declaration here allows you to create variables and also functions or methods. Okay, notice the term here. It says instance and instance method, instance variables. Up here in the scriptlets, we have local variables. Okay, local variable means it's contained inside a method, right? That's what we call local variable. It's not global. Whereas in the instance, these are global variables, and same thing with the method. So if you think of this as inside here, if you go back to the servlet, you could think of a method would be like, for example, a show body, right? Or you can have a function here somewhere to do a certain task. I can say, you know, public, you know, maybe int get sum, and then return, you know, 2 numbers. I could do something like that, and just return maybe 2 plus 2, right? That's a function. Okay, I can do the same thing here inside the JSP, but I can't use this tag. I want to use function, then you have to use a special tag with the exclamation mark. Okay, so this exclamation mark is what's called a declaration. You declare, you know, variables, global variables or instance variables that exist outside of a function. So this is a function called getSum. Okay, and I can call it inside here anywhere in my code, just like I did here, right? So I could say right above here, I could put like the sum of 2 plus 2 is, and then I can say, you know, that and get sum. I can call that method here. So I can call this function here. It will return the 2 plus 2, which is 4. Okay, again, if you run, you see that 2 plus 2 is 4. Okay?
You don't need to do the semicolon? Just because it's one line?
No, actually, you cannot put semicolons inside the expression. So this is the expression, right? The equal sign here is the expression. That means I cannot put semicolon. If you do, it will put an error. Okay?
It's a security risk.
And then it's the opposite for the scriptlet. So if you have a scriptlet here, if you don't put a semicolon, then you have an error. Yeah. So scriptlet, you can use regular Java code, And then the same thing here for the declaration as well. If you don't put semicolon, you get error as well. So think of this. The scriptlet, okay, like this one here, this is used to create local variables only. Local variables means it has to be contained inside the do post or the do get, or really it's inside the service method here. Okay, so that's why it's local, only contained within inside here. Okay, the declaration, the pound sign, exclamation mark here, means you declaring, if you put, for example, here, if you put int a is 5. Okay, now this is an instance variable. That means that this is the same as inside here, I would declare a variable outside of the function, right? So it's a global variable. It's a class level variable name. Like here, and of course, I can still use, I can call that in here as well, a plus 2, right? And because it's global, I can access that in here. Okay, and same thing here. A is outside of it's a declaration. It's a global variable. I could say, a plus 2. And this case would be 7. So if I were to render this, you see that I see 7. Okay?
It is false, by the way.
Yeah. So it would be the sum of not 2, but I can say equals a, right? So now a is 5, and if I do that, I would say 2 plus 5 is 7, right? If I change that to 15, then you can see that it changes instantly and also dynamically. Okay, so just like PHP, this part is very similar to PHP. Only thing is that in PHP you don't have so many different kind of directives here. You just use one, and it works throughout your code. But in Java, you have these 3 rules. So you have the expression with the equal sign. You have the scriptlet without any equal sign or any of the exclamation mark or any of the symbol. This is something else. You have the declaration with the exclamation mark. So if you need to use function, use this, and you can create functions in here, and you can call it anywhere within your page. Okay? You can use the expression to call it like this. Or if you want to use just the scriptlet, that's fine too. If you use that, again, just make sure you put a semicolon, and you still get the output here. Well, actually, no, this one you can't because it's a function, right? So you can't do it this way because I can't just call a function like that. It needs to return a value to something, so I have to say still print out and then print the results out. So like that. Takes more code versus the expression is much shorter. So as you can see, it should still work, but then the code is much more. Okay? And you can create you can create a lot of functions in here. This will be in that same space, same class level space scope here. So any variable you clear, variables you declare inside the declaration part will be treated just like you would inside the class space. So in other words, it could be like, usually you declare your variables way up here, right, in the top. Right, same thing. Okay, the same example. Inside the scriptlet is a local variable only. That means it's inside another function, usually inside the do get or do post here. It doesn't matter which, depending on the context you're using. So that's why you cannot create functions in here. So in other words, I cannot say like public void show it. I cannot create a function inside a function, right? You're not allowed to do that. So that's why the scriptlet doesn't let you create functions in here. Okay, so that's going to give you the overall perspective of where things are in your script here. Otherwise, you'll be really confused. Why can't you just put it here or you put it inside the expression and so on? Okay, so they have those rules for you to follow. Okay, I know I kind of went fast, so is this clear? Make sense? Okay. All right, so the next thing is I want to show you how to include files in here, just like PHP. To do that, let's just say I'm going to go create a different file. As you notice, my file has a header and stuff right away. I could just move all of these into a header file, right? So inside my file, in the source, inside the web content folder, I can create a new file called this, right-click and then new HTML file. Okay, and let's call this, like, for example, header.html. Okay, so you can see that it has a lot of this stuff in here, which I don't want. Okay, I just want the header. I could copy this from this file. This is the header part of my document. Put it inside here, right? And then maybe it would, yeah, so that's the end of the header, right? Or maybe it would stop here, depending on how you set up your file, right? It could stop there, right, including the body. So you would put that there. I'll insert the title here. Let's just say my first JSP. Save that. Okay, and then in the JSP file, since I don't need this part here, I can insert that in here by using this special directive with the @ symbol. So the @ symbol allows you to use directives, and also you can see my notes as well. So I want to say include. So you can see one of the directives is a page, one is include, and there's one called import. Okay, so include means you include files. So the file is called header.html. And this is relative to your file here, the index file. Did I put on the right place? It's in a wrong folder. Sorry. Yeah, this needs to go down. This needs to go down here. I'm just gonna drag this over. This needs to go down here. Okay. So it's relative to your index file. If I put this inside a subfolder, then I'll put that here. So for example, if I create a folder under the web content, a new folder, maybe I call it a header, or maybe usually like includes, right? As an include folder, we put that inside, for example. All my header, my footer, my navigation goes in here. Then I can say include inside this file, inside the includes folder, includes the header. I could do one for the footer as well if I want, right? So if I save this and run this file, right? It looks just like before, except now the title says my first JSP because it's coming from the file. So you look at the code, it's seamless, right? It looks just like a single HTML file. It's kind of, I mean, it pretty much just stitched those files together, just like PHP. The index, I mean, the header file starts from here to here, and then the rest is from the other file. Okay, so if I change my header to something else, then of course it will also be changed anywhere else I want to use it. And of course inside the header, if it's a JSP file, then you can also include more files in there and you just keep going. Keep including other files, just like PHP.
Any style sheet and all that.
Yeah, yeah, you can include style sheet, just like how you do it in your regular PHP.
Can you
Right.
put this back?
Yeah, that's fine.
You know what I mean?
Sure.
I'm gonna take off, get
Okay.
some food, and go write some Java.
All right.
Yeah.
Please do.
See
Yeah.
how I feel better, Tom.
Okay, so that is how you include files. Include your header, your footer, navigation, and so on. Okay, so the next thing I want to show you is how you use the import. Okay, so here you can see that I put a function called getSum in here, right in the code here. Okay, what if you don't want to put it here? So the idea is you don't want to create a lot of functions in here. Try to avoid that. If you have a lot of functions you want to put in here, then instead of putting it in here, you put it into a separate class. Okay, so here I'm going to create a new class. I'll call it inside here. I just call it, what do we call it? Let me create a package too. Create a package. We could just call it maybe .com.gtc.jsp, for example. That's your package name, right? Just a folder structure. I don't need this file. Delete that. So inside that package, I can create a new class. I'm going to call this class just maybe student. Okay, it'll be just a public class. Okay, so here it is, and I'm going to create the constructor. So public student, right? Blank constructor. You have maybe a string for name. Okay, maybe int for age, or something like that, right? And then you can create your setters and getters, right? Just like before. Setters and getters for both of them, and here they are. So I got them. So save that class, and then your JSP file. You want to import that class into this file. So you would use the import directive. Okay, use that @ symbol import, and then no, actually no. You should want to use page to the page import, and you will import that file inside the com.gtc.edu. So the whole qualifier, GTC, the package name, and then .student. Okay, so that is imported into your application. This is the same thing as saying that you put that in there, right? Or you include in the import. So now I have access to that class. So inside here, I can now say instead of name, I can say like, you know, create new student file. Like I put student S1 is equal to new student, right? Just like your regular Java code. And then now I can assign S1 dot set ID to 1, 2, 3. And I can do S1 dot set name to Mary, right? What happened here? Is it undefined? Well, let me see if I name and age. Oh, that's right. It's age. It's too old, right? Put 23. Okay. So I have the age and name, and now I can print that out to the web page. So down here, I could do like I can do something like I put expression s1 dot get name, right? Is, and then again another expression s1 dot get age. S1 years old. Okay. So let's see if this this works. So here is Mary is 23 years old, right? And again, if you look at the source code, it's just seamless, just like a text file. Okay, do you see how that's done? Okay, pretty straightforward. Once you have a class imported, you can import many classes all together. If I have another class, I just basically put a comma here and then import another class. Okay, another directory. So if you, for example, like a java.utils and then the star, whatever it is, right? You can import a lot of them at the same line. Or you can do a separate lines, you know, multiple times is fine too. And once you do that, then you can create instances out of that, and then of course use that as well. I could also pull this inside the another function here also, because again, it's available everywhere else. I could put that in here as well, right? It's duplicated, but so you have the include, to include files, import to import classes, and then again, if you have a lot of functions to use, put that into a class. You can put that into an application here and put all your logic in here. So the calculations, any other thing, you can put it all here. So if you think about how you are going to create your final project, for example, you create that my vote count thing. So you can use the same code in there, just put it in here, and then just include it inside your JSP file, and you can still access those data directly from the JSP file. And again, you have all these options to put either the expression or the scriptlet.
Can you go back to the import statement?
Yep. So you're importing to the page, okay? I can do that here.
I think I can.
Yeah, or you can just put it up here, it's fine too. Let's see what else, did I miss anything else? So we did the inclusion. Comments, okay? Comments use the double dashes, kind of like in the HTML, right? Similar to HTML, except you put a percent here, percent there. So very similar. You can use that for a single line, or you can put inside a scriptlet and the regular Java comment. Okay. This is some examples here. As you can see, you can use this is a factorial example. You can see that you can embed multiple combinations in here with scriptlet, expression, along with the declaration. We just did that a while ago. So you can have all those stuff in there together. And these are the predefined objects and variables. We use the page and the request to request input, the response to write out. So I use this along with the page you just saw earlier. And so the include, we did include to include files. The page, we did a little bit of that. The library, we do this in the next week. You can have your custom libraries, tags. So, you know, when you go home, just read over this file, these notes here, and I know I didn't cover everything here, but we'll continue this on next week. But I want to make sure that when you do the homework assignment, again, if you have a question, just let me know. But I think it's pretty self-explanatory for the assignment. So here, I ask you to do a number 3, okay? Basically, you're just going to obtain the parameters from the JSP file. So, and I'll just give me 1 minute here. For example,
You have those source files in the it's like prepare, and then there's like a little link, and then I download that link, and then you have all the source code for get parameter for that specific one.
for the source code under the prepare,
Yeah.
are you referring to this or the one in the homework assignment?
The one for the homework assignment.
Well, I mean, yeah. Well, we'll see if I can get that out. And it's in the book, so I would hate you to retype the whole thing again. Okay, I can maybe throw that in there for you.
You already have it in there. It's in the prepare folder.
Oh, it is? Okay, that's great. That's cool. That's cool. So here, to show you really quick, you want to read data from the browser. Then I can, for example, here I can assign, let's just say, a variable string s, or if it's like str is equal to, and I can do a request dot get parameter, right? And then let's just say str. Okay. No, put up here. Okay, the request is coming from the browser and the URL. And then I can also, like at the same time, output that out. So print string. Okay. And if I were to run this again here, wherever that was, here, right? So it's this null here. But if I put like, for example, str is equal to high, you see that it grabs that variable string and then the value is high and outputs it to the browser. So that's how you access parameters, okay? So request.getParameter, the name of that parameter. If it's coming from a form, it doesn't matter. If it's from the get or the post method, you can still gonna get that value from that form. Okay, so okay, I think that's it.